As in, if you know something is wrong and it feels like something is wrong, then something is wrong. If you think your blessings are being blocked because you're not in tune with your purpose, then your blessings are being blocked because you're not in tune with your purpose.
How you doing?
I'm good. I just got off the air, so I had a quick acai bowl, and I'm trying to make sure I don't have anything in my teeth.
All right. And then hence more water. Get that water in you.
Yes, sir.
So
How are you today? Everything good?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, brother. You know, just keeping the head up, staying positive, staying focused. And then for you, just before we get into this conversation, just want to give some folks who don't know the legend that is Kenny Burns. Let me give a quick rundown. Husband, father, first and foremost, the lifestyle specialist, entrepreneur, entrepreneur in a number of ways. I'm not even going to go down that list. That'll take up the whole hour. But radio host of V103.
Yes.
During the pandemic, TKBS Nation on the daily, which was a beautiful thing. I want to go into that in a second. Discover musical talent, cultural motivator, which I'm going to give you that one for free. That was the last one because I feel like what you were doing this past year, just with all the things, frankly, but when it came to voting, especially where you're at in Atlanta, in Georgia, was big. So first of all, shout out to all that you did in supporting that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And get into this point. So I want to start with this. And of course, the way things work, you posted what I wanted to speak to the first thing this morning. And that was the workout routine that I've seen you do starting, I think it was last year, you started posting it more and more on your social. But in addition to that, you also had some beautiful words. And that's where the cultural motivator comes in. And you said, I see you, you are necessary, and you are worthy of great health and the life you want. Keep going. Yeah. Beautiful. I co-sign, and I co-sign to the whole Black Love fam that's tuning in right now. But what started that process for you? What started this post of taking on your health more seriously?
Well, first of all, I'd like to shout out TKBS Nation because I see there in the comments heavy. Okay. I love you all. A big shout out to the Black Love family, those who I've met and haven't met. But yeah, I'm 48 years old, man. And when I was turning 40, I had made a decision in my life that I was going to be active. I didn't want to, when you're turning 39 into 40, you're really trying to figure out like, okay, is life going to be drastically different? I mean, I know I get, but I don't feel old and I know I can still dress. So you're going through all of these things in your mind trying to get ready for 40. And for me, it was like, I got to stay in shape. Yeah. I love to dress. I want to look great in my clothes. And then I also found out with working out how eating different, and my wife had already been on me about eating different, but it was an amazing thing to kind of get locked into, the workout grind, because it is a grind. And because I work so hard and because, I live the life I live, which I'm truly blessed to live, and working out helps me be able to do that. It's just, being mindful of all the things that have to go in it. So, obviously I was working out like a madman, trying to do CrossFit type workouts every day. It's not humanly possible if I want to continue to be an effective host and have other things going on. But I got into my groove and my rhythm of what that would be weekly. I've always had isms. I call them isms, and I like to share things with TKBS Nation that inspire them, that motivate them. So everything I do, I try to attach a message as a part of the process. And this morning it's Monday, it's More Life Monday. Yeah. Let's get everything we came for. Oh, and by the way, I see you. Because I think a lot of times people just feel like, you post these things, there's nothing personal about it, or you post these things and there's no real heartfelt meaning behind it. And I try to do that in everything I do.
Well, I appreciate that, and I feel like it resonates. It resonated for me, and that's real talk. That's not just, just because you're on here with me, but it's real talk. I went through the workout. I was like, oh, okay, what's Kenny up to this morning? Right. And then I saw that, and that hit. And I was like, okay. And like I said, you've been doing that more and more so. So I appreciate that. And I think more during these times, more than ever, it's necessary. It's necessary, especially so in the Black community. So I love that.
Thank you.
To that point, so okay, you're taking on your health, you're eating better, you're making sure getting it in the gym. Are there any routines that you're doing in the morning also that kind of kick off and start your day or ground you on a daily basis?
I discovered this actually with the nation on a conversation we had. I didn't even really realize it until I said it. And I actually fast until noon. And I didn't even know that. And I'm sure it's a spiritual connection with me because one, I don't eat before I work out. But I definitely fast before noon. And I think that part of that is me kind of, waking up, breathing, right? I think breathing is very important. I think during this pandemic, we've all had a level of anxiety that causes us like, okay, before the day starts and we know it's going to be hectic one way or the other, let's breathe.
Yeah.
So I breathe and I kind of get my bearings together. And I don't know, something in my brain always has a song when I wake up. I don't know what it is. I promise you, it's a song, and I'll hum the song, but then it's part of my breathing thing. It's super weird. Yeah, and then I get my day started. But I think the purpose portion of my product, right? Me being the product, the purpose portion amplified tremendously to your point during COVID because it was what I also needed. Like I tell the nation all the time, like they always tell me how thankful they are for my offerings and the things that I say, but I also had to, be more vulnerable so I could grow. And that was encouragement from my wife and my sister, and one of my mentees were telling me, she actually works at Instagram. And she's like, you should go on IG TV and use that to your advantage. I'm telling you, you'd win. And my wife was like, why don't you just be more vulnerable? Like you clearly need to connect in a different way. So try just, giving more of yourself. And then it was lights out Joe Jackson.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And that's something with other men that I've been speaking to on this, and I can attest it to with myself. Opening up, getting more vulnerable just allows this connection. Like no matter how many people you're touching, again, that ism to your point, if you change one life, you've won. You've done your work. So whether it's 1,000, 100,000, millions daily, in your case, on the radio and other outlets, it's necessary and it's impactful.
Yeah, and you also found out. Well, I know I found out during the pandemic, but I would suggest we all try to tap into the superpower or your superpower. But for me, it was like the completion. I've already lived a selfless life. I've been married almost 22 years in October. I have a 20-year-old and a 16. Thank you.
Yeah,
and so I know what it's like to be selfless. But in my offering during the pandemic, it was literally to make sure my community was whole. And when your purpose matches your product like that, and the things you do, it's so ordained. And I can't stress to even the young men listening how important it is to live your life based on the feeling you feel about what you're doing. And I mean that as in, if you know something is wrong and it feels like something is wrong, then something is wrong. If you think your blessings are being blocked because you're not in tune with your purpose, then your blessings are being blocked because you're not in tune with your purpose. I think we're all conscious of this, but we choose to compartmentalize it based on necessity, where we're at in our lives, who we're in a relationship with. But if we could just get out of the noise for 2 seconds and listen to ourselves, because your inner being, that inner thought, that inner voice, that's God. That's a part of your spiritual connection. You have to pay attention to those signs. And I think for me, this is the first year I was completely silent. I was completely still, and I was completely focused on the purpose, matching the product, matching the movement, matching the fly, matching. I always tell this to my mentees. I was like, my outfits match my wife matches my house, my car, my kids match the landscape. Like, I pride myself on, you're not going to see me doing something and my entire life doesn't match. But when I added that purpose piece, player, I'm talking about things that, you know, I've dreamed of doing, deals that I've dreamed of accomplishing. I'm talking about when I say, as soon as I brought that last ingredient or that piece to my puzzle, you know, so I want to encourage people, man. And for me, it took a pandemic to sit still and listen to that inner voice. So.
No, that's beautiful. I love that. You know, yeah, sometimes it takes a pandemic. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes more than that on a personal level.
Yeah.
But no, I'm all about that. And, you know, you touched on that stillness, which I think connects to the breathing, which I think connects to also getting this advice from your wife and from some of the others that you mentioned that encouraged you to be more vulnerable. So again, to your point of all dots connecting and making sense, I think it's all of that. So, you know, what the question I was asking you before about how you start your day, it sounds like you've hit all of them. Like I usually ask about mind, body, soul.
Yeah.
You hit the body, you hit the mind, you hit the soul. In terms of support and getting to this. Now you said it took you a pandemic to get to this point, but the successes you've seen prior and the things you've seen prior getting to this point, the notoriety, the things you've accomplished, the 22 years of marriage, the children, do you feel like, and you're mentoring now, because you mentioned some mentees that you have, are there other people? Are there things that you've done along the way? Was it a mentor? Was it therapy? Was it okay?
No, keep talking.
Yeah. What was it? One of those things? Oh wow.
So this is Andre Harrell.
Yes, it is. I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andre, for me, well, first and foremost, I've been blessed my entire life to meet people for reasons or seasons. I've entered all of my relationships ever with full arms open and ready to receive whatever the relationship was going to give me. But until I got to Dre, I didn't really know the purpose of relationships. And everyone's not meant to be in your life all the time for the entire journey. Some people are meant to come in and they're supposed to give you the energy you need for that moment to get to the next step. And I've always been blessed with that. But I think I really honored mentorship. I never had given anyone credit for mentorship until Andre. And Steve Rifkin and DJ Clark Kent are also male mentors and positive role models that, you know, met me where I was at the time that they met me and allowed me to grow. But Dre was the first to really say, and Clark Kent, but Dre more so on the lifestyle piece. I knew there was a certain bracket for me in life. I knew that there was a certain lane where I was going to be elite, where people would have to measure up to be, and that Kenny Burns would be the bar. And I don't talk about myself in third person, but I'm saying I saw that for myself. And when I met Dre, he taught me how to define that. You know, it's amazing. Like, you know, you have a skill set, you know, you have talent, but then you have to kind of make it make sense. So when someone asks you what you do and you say you're a lifestyle specialist, you have to have an answer. You can't call yourself something and not have a definition attached. And Dre taught me how to do that. And he taught me how to use my passion for people to connect it with my purpose and then to grow it into something, whether I wanted to monetize it or not, that would be ultimately, you know, a success story, right? So that's family, that's my business, that's a whole different, you know, that's a bunch of different buckets in itself. Yeah. But I feel like, you know, he's the one who showed me how to be Black and excellent. Like I knew how to be Black. I mean, I'm from single parent. I'm from a single parent home, and I'm gonna break it down like he would. I'm from a single parent home, raised by my mother, aunties, and grandmother. May she rest in peace. And I knew how to love, but I didn't have the male role models around me. Like I used to say, to punch me in my chest and say, "Nah, go that way," or "No, don't do that." And so playing with that hot stove and playing with those pots without gloves on, you burn yourself a lot, and you figure out like, yo, like, what is missing? And, you know, and when I met Dre, I realized it was that father figure, because your mom and your aunts and your grandmother, they can love you. They can't teach you how to be a man, and they can't teach you the things that are important for male growth. I think, and that's another thing that we need to start celebrating too. Like, we've seen so many success stories. I mean, we've seen a lot of non-successful stories. We've seen a lot of successful stories on how Black men started a certain way, me, convicted felon, to 360 degrees later, you know, a icon in my community. And so through doing the work, right? And that's a lot of that people miss. Some people get the glory without the work. I've worked to get the glory. And I owe a lot of that to people like Andre Harrell, Clark Kent, Steve Rifkin. And, you know, it's nothing like someone taking a chance on you. You know, I think we're not afforded those opportunities too much, right? We're not afforded the people seeing you. And that's why, like, you know, I say I see you often, because I want people to know if you do something and it affects me spiritually or mentally or positively in any light, I'm going to let you know what your superpower is. I have, you know, hundreds of examples over the pandemic of people that have come on to the lives and just went away with a new thought process. Or I took the time to see someone's vision and say, well, try this. You know, if you add this, you might see how it all kind of relates to your purpose. Or, you know, relationships, and, you know, letting them know, like, it's never going to be easy. It's always work. You signing up for work. You're not just signing up for love.
Right.
So I think, you know, and even the Black Love, you know, episode we did, man, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because every week someone stumbles upon that and they're like, yo, first of all, how were your bare feet out? I was like, I was in my house. I was on my couch. I could have my shoes off.
Yeah.
Didn't know they were going to be showing my feet. But point and moral of the story is we have to leave traces of who we are through our journey. And, you know, in my case, I've been lucky to leave pieces of myself with people that take it on and add it to their game, and then they share it. And it's the gift that will forever be given.
I love that. That's beautiful. One of the things, so now because this keeps coming up, I have to touch on marriage. You brought up Black Love. I forgot to mention Black Love alumni at the top of it. But 22 years married. So and you said it's always work, and there is maintenance. You just don't fall in love and stay in love forever. But 22 years, what are some of the things that come up often as these are the things you keep in check, your wife keeps in check, or you both keep each other in check to get that far down the line?
Well, you got to like each other. I think a lot of times, you know, relationships are circumstantial, right? It's like necessity at the moment, rather being the completion of a puzzle. You're just a piece. And I don't say that lightly. Like, and I feel like even over the last half of our relationship, not the first half of the last, we realized, like, damn, like, we're like completion. Like, it's not like a piece. It's like, I'm not good, and if I'm not in this situation, or I'm not, you know. And I think that, you know, we were so young, and to come from, you know, homes that weren't broken. I mean, there was love there, but there were, in my case, well, both our cases, our fathers weren't really what they needed to be in our lives. We had, you know, ideas of what life was. I was already on some family. She wasn't on family. She didn't even want kids.
Really?
And oh yeah, she didn't even want kids at first. My sister, who is now 27, I think was 3 or 4 years old. And so it was kind of like the way she even interacted with, I'm like, that's like my daughter. She's my sister, but she's like my daughter. I pay for school. I pay for this like my baby. And so when I look back, I'm like, yeah, because Jessica didn't, you know, she wasn't on it. But then it was like me on one side teaching her how to love, and let her know that all black men aren't going to do the things she was used to happening in her life. And that trust, right? So when that trust is established, I had a rotten tooth. I wasn't taught to floss and, you know, make sure you go to your dental visits every 6 months. Like she saved my teeth. You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, that's something you look at, you're like, okay, cool. And I was $30,000, you know, under my mattress, but I'm $30,000 in debt. Like, there's just things I wasn't thinking about that she had on point. And it's like you put those things together, and it's like, okay, why not us? And then you start the journey. And I promise you, you almost have to start it like that. Why not us? Why can't, you know, why not us? We can make it, we can do it. And then 22 years later, the main ingredients are being understanding, you know, to your partner's dreams, right? There are wants and there are needs, right? We understand what the needs are, because those are the everyday things you have to have to survive.
Yep.
You know, the wants are you know, you're gonna try some shit. And you might not as a partner agree with it. I tell the story to this day. My wife wanted to do hair because I was, you know, being creative in my thing, and she wanted to be more creative in corporate America, which she had stopped doing early in our relationship, but she wanted to do hair, but it was 12-hour days. And I'm like, babe, this is like right when my youngest son, or before my youngest son was born. And it was just like, but babe, you want to do hair? Like, you know, I'm gone all the time. You're gone all the time. Like, how do we do it? But you gotta let your partner see for themselves in relationship what works and what doesn't. You also have to let your partners, or the partners in the relationship, or your partners see what is best for the relationship, me included. I couldn't have been like, yo, don't follow that dream. That would have been, although she might not have said that, I'd have been back here for a long time if I'd have, you know what I mean? So but you live and learn. And we made, you know, mistakes in the department of each other's feelings and what we would think or say or should have done, but you learn because, you know, wait, no, whenever I get upset, like, I'll tell you this about me, I get upset like she's a stranger sometimes, because the way that I was brought up, I'm like, if they're coming at me, they're coming at me, whoever it is, family. I saw my aunts, my mom and one of my aunts go at it constantly. No holds barred, like literal. Like, why would you say that? Like, to the point when I was 16, I had to tell my one aunt, I said, listen, I can't have a relationship with you if you continue to talk to my mother like that, because you're telling me these things about my mother has nothing to do with my mother and I, because we're great. I know what I live with her. Like, I know. You constantly. So, but I think, you know, with that, man, you kind of, you understand that, you know, there's value in listening. There's value in trying to come to a head together versus, you know, I had a rule: we're not going to sleep mad. We're not going to go to sleep angry. I'm not going to sleep mad. I'm not going to, I can still be mad, but at least it's going to be out in the air. I'm not going to sleep holding nothing. And please, you don't do the same. So that we can be on the same page, because it's impossible. Listen, I promise you, everyone in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, you might think your partner knows you and can read your thoughts, but they can't. You got to say that shit.
Big fact, big check on that one. I know that. I know that's true.
You got to say it, y'all.
Yeah. And I feel like, to that point about saying it, it's more than, so I feel as though some people say, you know, you have to communicate. But when people say that, a lot of people just mean it by just talking a lot. So I feel like, you know, in terms of, from what I'm hearing, what I'm listening to you say, from my experiences also, it's listening. That communication is listening just as much, if not more, than speaking and throwing things back and forth. It's a lot of that listening, internalizing, processing, and then you can give back if you have something to give back. And if not, then you got nothing to give back. And let's call it what it is.
Yeah, I think, you know, in relationships, there's called the petty zone. And the petty zone is the initial reaction in the conversation. To me, that's the time you should get it out. Whatever you want to say, slick or not, just say it. So the rest of the conversation could be working through what's important to make this not be a lingering thing. Because what I have learned, if you do not say what's on your mind, it does build up and it becomes a whole nother conversation if you let it. So I would suggest, have the petty zone moment. Say exactly how you feel, unfiltered. This is your partner. No matter how they feel in that moment. And I'm not telling you to be petty for the sake of being petty. I'm not telling you to disrespect your partner. I'm saying the petty zone gives you the opportunity to say how you really feel at that moment. Now think about your words, choose them wisely. You know your relationship better than me. But I am saying the petty zone is to be used. Say the shit. And to be honest, the older you grow together and in your relationship, the petty zone will become the fun zone, because you know you're being petty. You know that your partner's being petty, and you can laugh at the shit. Because the initial phase, you're going to have a slight argument after. It might get a little fiery. You might not get it for a couple of days. But you said what you said. And to be honest, the petty zone is the truth. The petty zone is how you feeling in that moment. You want them to know how you feel. You want your partner to know how you are feeling. You don't want them to just be, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know. I know my wife. I know everything about my wife, what makes her tick, what makes her happy. I mean, outside of feeding her, like I know all the things. Feeding my wife, by the way, women. Yes, feed a woman and live a happy life. Take a woman
Okay.
and help, real. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, know the things about your partner to help you achieve success in the communication department. Petty zone, use it. Petty zone.
When are you going to trademark the petty zone? Because that's
I'm
I
not.
love that.
Yeah, I want somebody to live.
That's dope. Yeah.
I'm nowhere over. But there's been a lot of things during COVID I've given people that I get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. But I want people to run with it. If you like petty zone, go.
Hashtag that. I love it.
just when you make $1 billion, call me and say, KB, I'm sending you 100 million. Thank you, dog.
And let's cheers over some Uncle Nearest.
Amen.
There we go.
Speaking of Uncle Nearest, the fastest growing independently owned American whiskey in U.S. history. Okay, great.
There it is. Okay, so transitioning from the petty zone, let me veer into children.
Yes.
You have two young men that you're raising.
Yes.
Are there things from the relationship? Are there things from your journey growing up in DC, either that have no longer served you, that you learned from, things from mentors and from your marriage that you're now consciously looking and passing down to your sons?
Yeah, so initially, this is going to sound wild, but initially I wanted to be street enough for my kids not to have to go wander out and see what street is or, what that looks like. And with Kenny, I had a very interesting time between probably the age of 12 and really 17 because we have the same name. And he wanted to be his own Kenny Burns. And all of the glory that came with his last name, he was cool with it when it could benefit, but he wanted his own version of him. So the things I learned growing up, because, I didn't have, my father's the first Kenny Burns, and I didn't have that, I go to my pops. I wanted to,
right.
But I wanted that with Kenny and I. And now that he's 20, he's freshman, finished up his freshman year in college. We have that, and I'm so thankful for it. Kyle, on the other hand, I have that immediately with. I wanted to, I think Kenny kind of maybe thought I was a little too street, and that's why I'm going back to street.
Yeah.
Because of, the way I was at games, the way, that I tried to talk to him because I grew up with my mom like she was my friend. I didn't grow up with my mom like a mom, like that was my partner, like. And so I wanted to have, and we do now, but like for those years, it was kind of like, I have to be my own Kenny Burns. I'm seeing other things. And, he created an identity for himself, which I respect. But everything I've wanted for my children, I now have. I have gone through, and I suggest any parent listening to the words that come out of my mouth, I suggest you let your kids be individuals before you try to put anything on them. And I'm talking about in the more I'm almost an adult years, not the formative years where you have to teach them what you know. But there's a time where it's going to come and they're going to have to bust their head open to see that what you were trying to explain to them is, going to help them. But in everyone's time. But yeah, I take from my childhood. I grew up hard, and it's not hard meaning like it's what I chose to do. Not with my mom and my aunts and my grandmother provided to me, which was what they could do, right?
Sure.
But I had a whole nother vision for myself. And what came with what I wanted to do was so much dysfunction, bro. Outside of the family dysfunction, we've all seen that. But I'm talking about the streets is another world. And I just never wanted them to experience that. And I tried to take the best of that because there is good in it. There was good in the things that happened to me because it prepared me for the business I'm in. It prepared me, to be able to have a forceful nature in certain situations in business because, people will take advantage of you. But, looking at it now, Kyle 16, about to be 17, Kenny 20, everything I've ever wanted to instill, I've witnessed come back to me. Everything that I was hoping they heard and are hearing with Kyle. And it's just my job to continue to share. Like now I can share stories, which I couldn't really talk about the gangster shit early.
Sure.
I didn't want to promote that,
Right.
nor did I think they were mature enough, to hear. But it's crazy. Like I can talk to both of them now about anything and not feel any kind of way or feel like I'm being judged. So
No, I love that. That's big. That's something, some of these things. So I'm a dad of one and I have a daughter who's 3. So this whole letting them be, because now at 3, you see the personality. This for you is probably like light years ago since you have grown men now. But,
right.
This is the early stage of that. This is the early stage of let her be her, let her grow into who she is. We all come with our baggage of, ooh, I'd love it if my child does this. I want my child to do this. Expectations, and throwing that out. And that's another thing. So I appreciate you saying, because I believe in that too. I know it's going to be a challenge because I'm not fully there yet. So we'll get there. But taking your expectations off, letting them be, and then when the time comes, to your point, then you give that little guidance, those little, railings on the side to kind of help them course correct, but you still got to let them be, because at the end of the day, they're their own person. We're here to guide them.
Yeah, and the one thing too, to what you just said about your relationship with your daughter, the only thing that I would say on some big brother advice is when they're young, give them everything you want them to have. Not financially or physically. I'm saying like attention-wise, conversation-wise, what you see for them. Because what you don't realize is that's when they're processing the majority of what they're going to take from you in that offering. It's things that we used to say to Kenny and Kyle, bro, at like 9, 10, 11, when they started kind of like 11, 12, and you don't think they heard anything. And then you see Kenny mentoring his brother, telling him things I told him. You know what I mean? So you kind of, so I would encourage you to say it. But again, when those teenage years come, they're gonna have to burn their hand on the stove. They're gonna have to figure out a few things, and you don't want them to get hurt or by any means. I'm not saying physically burned, but I'm saying as a metaphor. But yeah, bro, it's a testament to who you are too, And I think the one thing you're gonna see, you said you have a 3-year-old, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna learn as much from them as they will ever learn from you, because that selflessness of a parent is literally your heart outside your body. You can't even explain it at times. And I mean, at 3 years old, you're still kissing feet and biting cheeks, and so you know what I'm saying. So it's like, but it's the best, man. And I salute every parent on this live. There's no blueprint. We are all human.
No, there is not. Yeah,
it's trial and error.
No, I believe that. So let me, 2 more things for you. So to the point of mentorship, and I'm a big believer in mental health and figuring out ways of wellness there. You mentioned mentees, so maybe you do this with mentees already, but with your friends, family, etc. Do you have check-ins? Do you have like these just random, like as one of our guests would say, I ain't want nothing, but I'm just checking in with you?
Yeah, often. I have, really my core friendship group are really friends that I've had for 30, 40 years, like 30. I can almost say 30 plus years.
Wow.
I mean, my cousin obviously is 6 months younger than me. So that's been from the cradle. So I think for me, that's most important, because that is your barometer. I've been blessed, like I said, during the pandemic some people I never even see, but I answer them. I send voice notes back. I've even gotten some of their phone numbers. I feel like, community now has a new meaning. So prior to the pandemic, where I was very, very scared to invite people in and be friends, because in my business, the majority of the things I've seen, people just aren't right. And the things they take and not give, and So I was very scared of just being friends with people, you know, and again, I always show up like that. I think my ability to cut you clean off is way more, you know, savvy and intense. But yeah, over this pandemic, man, seeing the real like unfolding and the peeling back of the onion, as I say, these layers, you didn't know they were there, and you need people that understand. You need people that go through the same thing, and that's the blessing about these platforms.
Yeah.
I never did this. I never would go live. Like I never would, you know what I mean? Because I felt like I was getting messages out to people that needed. I was inspiring, you know, doing all the things I'm doing now. It's just now it's in the millions versus a couple thousand people, you know, that get to see the offerings when I felt like it.
I love it. I love it. So a lot of beautiful things. I feel like I've learned a lot more coming out of this than when I came into it. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And also trying to be mindful of your time. I'm
good. So just so you know,
yes, sir.
I'm giving you an hour if that's what it takes, because I give the nation an hour Monday through Friday. And today we sacrificed our 3 o'clock hour to be with you guys. So they're here and they're ready for whatever we're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Wow. Well, I was,
we're good either way.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me see where this takes you, because this is usually my my sign-off question and what I like to leave it with. But with all the things we talked about, you may have said this already, so if you just want to reiterate, but what is your definition of wellness as a Black man?
That's a great question, and I think it's a question that should be a part of some type of, you know, what is it called when you have a not a class, but it's called a I'm never stuck with words, but a course on wellness. We need courses in college, on every level of education, because it's most important. And what was the question, so I can answer it correctly?
What is your definition of wellness as a Black man? And I put that last part specifically.
Yeah, my definition of wellness and being a Black man is making sure not only myself, because a lot of times we put ourselves out the way to help others.
Yep.
That myself and the people around me are whole. Whole is the goal. I think I've done that my entire life in my friendships, in my relationships. I've always left every relationship with something they could take and share. And I think that's real community. I think that is how we can all, you know, stay mentally well and stay whole, because we don't feed ourselves enough spiritually. We don't feed ourselves enough with information. And I think, you know, another great thing about the pandemic with TKBS Nation, like, we've been sharing information, bro. Like, who would have thought Kenny Burns would have been on the political, like, forefront, like taking, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was referring to Donald Dump every day on the radio as such, going off on anybody who was racist or class. I was going off, but it was necessary because people weren't aware of their power. We flipped the state of Georgia, bro. We turned Georgia blue. Now, there was a lot of people on the forefront of that, including the big part of it being Stacey Abrams' job and getting everyone registered to vote. But me on the radio every day going crazy, like, I don't know if you've ever listened, but I go crazy for what I believe in. And I was going, and so John Ossoff came because of that. We had, you know, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. We had Joe Biden. Everybody's on the Kenny Burns show. Beautiful. And people saw politics different. They saw politics different because we know politicians ain't shit. But if we can find the ones that are, we're going to be all right. Or at least has an agenda where we can benefit until we can find the person that is 100%, which I don't think they'll ever be, because the government, because the government is a cold piece of work. But, you know, you don't know your superpowers until you use them.
That's right. That's facts. I think with politics, you touched upon that, because that's something, I mean, for me too, that's a whole other conversation on my upbringing, but there are certain similarities where politics wasn't for me. It wasn't for my boys. It wasn't taught. It was like, the boring, this won't affect you. This only affects people with money. This only affects people that have interest in those politics or those politicians.
Yes.
But it would never come into my community. It was the same thing when I was growing up, because I always grew up in, I'm a city boy, New York City, Spanish Harlem. So I always grew up in apartment buildings. So I always said, Santa Claus is never coming to me. Every Christmas, there is no Santa. And I knew that at a young age because he's never coming to my house.
Right.
So it was the same thing with politics, and it was the same thing with, it was actually the same thing with wellness, which is what got me into wellness. Because once I started learning about it, I started realizing it's just a matter of education. And to your point, being able to share the information, have that informational exchange.
Right.
And that's what starts building our community. That's what starts getting us to blossom. And back to your point, whether it's politics, whether it's wellness, it's this informational exchange on platforms like this, on platforms like V103, TKBS Nation. So no, I haven't checked out V103, but I have checked you out all last year into this year with TKBS Nation. Because I felt like, again, that was like it was just powerful. It was one of those things where you took a live and you took off.
Yeah.
And you had the conversations and you went in and you made sure every day you just had a check-in, and community had a place to go and listen, exchange, and be informed or inform and continue to grow. And I feel like that's always and forever important in our community, especially. So I appreciate that insight, especially with politics. So politics, yes, politics is not, it's for everybody. And if you can find ways, to your point, where it can benefit your community, go out. Again, we've seen how simple it is to vote. We've seen how simple it is to be empowered, because it's not that hard. You take some time to research, and then you do the work. And again, I don't think you don't have to always be the person marching, but if you find a way to impact, whether it's voting, whether it's speaking up, whether it's sharing information, whether it's going out, whether it's protesting, whether it's whatever, whether it's doing something like this and putting the information out, we all become empowered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's important, man. The journey for wellness, I think, is always a subconscious, actual happening, right? Like we're always trying to find ways to feel better immediately after something pains us, hurts us, disappoints us. So we've always tried. But I think putting on the front, and this is where you should be ultimately selfish. You have to put yourself first in the healing department, because you can't heal someone or help someone unless you are healed or whole. And I think a lot of times, we looked at that brother, I didn't even know about him until the relationship scandal, but he was a relationship guru, and he just had the cheating allegations, 4 years married. But you find these people, a lot of them who are relationship gurus, one, don't have a relationship. If they're in a relationship, it's on rocky bottom. And I'm not dissing anyone, but I'm just saying, when you get to a place of consciousness where your purpose aligns with your product, you gotta listen to your inner self, and which is God telling you the path. The problem is I've ignored it all too many times in the past. And that's why I'm in my late 40s now, just really getting what I came for. And now, mind you, everyone's seen my growth and seen me in culture forever, and I've always been doing my thing. But when you ultimately think of success, I've defined success for myself, and it wasn't all that shit. All that was great, right? It helped me get to this point. But the beauty and the blessing in it all is that I know my purpose. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I had an idea. I acted towards it. And this is how God will do you. He'll keep you on the path. You'll say something that'll resonate. It'll go viral. Or you'll do this, that, and the third. So your words mean something. But until you sit down, and mind you, I want you to take this into account. I was interviewing all celebrities for the first 5 months. The first 5 months, every day, Monday through Friday, a different celebrity. I would frame for culture, and we'd have these amazing conversations. And then I was like, wait, I'm not doing this for celebrities. I'm doing this for the people.
Right.
Let me get the people involved. Let me see what the people are thinking. Oh, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. And, you know, not even in the middle. I think, yeah, the pandemic was like 3-4 months old before I was like, well, 5 months before I was like, I got to get with the nation is the thing. That talking about politics, talking about, you know, all the things that were happening in culture. I mean, there was so many things that happened this past year. We shared them all together. And those conversations went from, you know, I mean, when I had Kevin Hart on, we had 6,000 people watching at one time. And then it was, you know, but it's based on the celebrity. I need my people. If it's going to be, you know, and mind you, when you see 340 now, it'll be 10, 20,000 that have come through since we've been on. But I like those numbers because they're real conversations. They sat here and listened to us exchange, and now they're leaving with something that's going to benefit them. So I just want to encourage everybody out there, man, the wellness journey is most important in your journey, because without sanity, you can't have clarity. And without clarity, you really can't get what you came for.
All facts. It took me, it's taken me a while to also learn this selflessness as a power and not a selfish thing, you know, and being selfish of yourself is therefore being selfless to everybody else, but you can't do one without the other. And it's taken me a while to learn that. It's taken me a lot of years.
But think about it. Think about it. Some people never get it. Some people go through their whole lives and never tap into their purpose, or tap into their why, or tap into even tap into what they were here to do. They miss the entirety because they refuse to tap in. You got to face yourself. Like when you face yourself and you see the ugliness, and I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about whatever demons you have. And then you realize, whoa, shit, I'm not even as fucked up as I thought. Maybe once you process it and deal with it, then you can throw it away and be the person you were meant to be and be on the path you're supposed to be on. But I think a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves. You know, we're so like judgmental of ourselves, and that's where the selfishness has to come in. You gotta love yourself. You have to be your biggest fan. You have to be the one. Everybody else is good. It's cool, and you're gonna be thankful. It's gonna make you cry to know that people care about you. It's gonna be great, but you gotta be the one. You cannot allow on other people to make you whole. You just can't. You just can't. And again, with that, you also have to be conscious enough to not discard your partner. Because what I've seen in relationships, trying to be your own individual in a relationship, sometimes you discard your partner. You put your partner off. And this is very important for people in relationships. You can never do that. You got to be whole in yourself. You got to find, you have to be yourself. You have to be okay without your partner. I want to say that, but you can't discard your partner in that process. And I see all too many times people boss up. They want that person in their relationship. Then all of a sudden they have their own. They do this, that, and the third. And then all of a sudden it's me and you instead of us. And that's when shit. That's hell in the handbasket. That's the divorce waiting to happen.
Yeah. So to what you just said. So I'm glad you clarified, because that's what I like to say. The partner in marriage is your better whole, not your better half. So, and that's the 1 + 1 = 3 in that, right? Because you're whole, she's whole, he's whole, however you roll. And that equates to the 3, because you have the relationship, you have yourself, and they have themselves. But to your point, you have to factor in your partner into that = 3, or again, it's going to be you and you for the long game.
Yeah. And I know so many people that bit the dust because of that, but once you get into this independent mindset, and even black women, all the black women listening, we are in your era. We are in your time. People are appreciating you and your efforts. People are seeing you for who you are. We Your biggest fans are amplifying you. We are pushing you towards the light. But you can't forget about your black men. You cannot forget about your black men. And it's ironic because a lot of black men are getting tossed to the side, you know what I'm saying, with the celebration of our queens. And it shouldn't be like that. And it's the analogy I just gave you in a relationship. Us, and it's me and you. We can't have it separate. It has to be us. Real community and real accomplishment comes with unity. It comes with us getting everything we came for together, showing the blueprint to those behind us so that they can come get whatever they have coming to them. But you know, we can have it all, y'all. It don't got to be either or.
Yeah.
It don't have to be such and such as time. It don't have to. Everybody can get it. And now, mind you, there are some men and some women that just ain't shit. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And they gonna hold you down tooth and nail with it. However they can keep you in the box, they want to keep you in that box. But I refuse to believe that the majority of us think that way. I refuse to believe that all white people are bad. I refuse to think that we can't be in a world where everybody, if not understands each other, respects each other. And as long as we got that, we don't need nothing else. We don't need nothing else.
Yep.
We got to lock in, though. See, and this is the generation to do it. We are the gatekeepers. We are the leaders of culture. We are putting things into the universe that are actually happening. Do you know what Georgia felt like? One of the most racist states in the union. There was the police officer just the other day. I went crazy because he said the kid had a bad day. I went nuts. 2 days later, he's off the case. Job on the line. You got to go. But we have that power, y'all. We have that power. We can make the world the place we want to live in. We can do. Listen, if we haven't learned anything this year, we learned two things. It ain't changed. The old Jim Crow, racist class, it's in place. It's just not as blatant. Right. But it's in place. But we've also learned they can't do shit without us. And if we decide to do anything, vote, whatever it is, we win. We win. This shit is not rocket science. We win.
Right.
So my thing is like to exclude each other, to put each other down, to make an example of people. Now, some people need to be brought to clarity in public. I'm not saying we need to be destroying nobody or canceling people, but if you are in a business where you are selling love and commitment and things that you gotta do that, bro, sis. Yeah. Bro, sis. You gotta do that. If you are a preacher and a man of God and you are, teaching the word of God to your people, you have to live by that. So as long as we're all in our pockets doing our job, do you see how good the engine runs? Or electric, I don't know what you're into. I'm a Tesla guy. You see the electrical current going, you know what I'm saying? So I think, it's big, man. And I feel so good and optimistic of where we could go, man. Like, sky is really the limit. And we have to do it now because what we did see is that there's a power behind people like Donald Trump that don't care about nothing but money. They will send their children to war to die. They don't care about nothing but money, and they will sacrifice a generation to do so. We're not like that. We're not like that. We are not like that. We believe in family. We believe in community. We believe in love. We now understand the importance of generational wealth. Now we understand. More of us understand the importance of getting an insurance plan in case you don't make a lot of money. So a couple $100,000 a minute can go to you. Come on now. We are way too knowledgeable. We don't have to go through this no more. This is the generation where all that stops. And guess what? They're having babies by everybody. The world is going to brown. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So all my Spanish brothers and sisters, listen. Keep your heritage intact. I have a problem with people going and doing things and then you forget about your people. Now, come on now. Keep your heritage intact. I'm going to leave it there. That's a whole nother conversation.
That is.
I get to going. They say I should have been a preacher, but I curse too much. I digress.
Well, just maybe you're the new wave preacher.
Somebody said that in the Nation the other day. I'm
Oh,
going on
really?
tour. I'm gonna go on tour and see how it feels.
Well, I love everything you said. I love that we extended, and thank you for allowing this to be extended, because
All
I
love.
feel like this resonated. This definitely hit me. This got me worked up as well. And I'm gonna just leave it with everything you said. Let's leave it on a positive note, because I agree with everything you said. It's all truth, and it's what a time to be alive for this community.
Yes. Listen, and you're necessary, and people like you are necessary, and we need more voices that balance the playing field. You know, this music, this the way that we're marketed to, the over sexualizing of our women, and I mean, we need balance. We need, and I'm as ratchet as they come when I want to be, but I'm just saying, like, we need balance. So, brother, keep doing what you're doing. You know, obviously, you know, I love my Black Love family. Let's get what we came for. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate your time as well. Thank you for sharing it with the Black Love fam. And we'll definitely do this again, because
For
now that I
sure.
know I got more time with you, we're going to do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, we could do it whenever you're ready, brother. I'm here for it, whenever, whatever.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you
Love.
again, Kenny.
Okay,
All
brother.
right.
All right. Peace.